Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fabulous time in quarantine. And if you're out on the streets demanding justice for George Floyd, make sure to wear masks and be extremely cautious and aware of your surroundings. Those that resist positive change usually do so violently, but also take heart in the fact that there are more of us than there are of them. So in my days of quarantine, I've spent most of the time meditating, reading, and rewatching movies, particularly the ones I feel I misunderstood. I'm probably the easiest theater audience member there is because I will give mostly any film a couple of chances. I've always understood art to be purposeful, not only in its beauty or grandeur, but also its subtleties. Just because a piece of art doesn't explicitly say something doesn't change the message it communicates. Sure, we all have our preferences or subjective opinions, but at the end of the day, a film should be the execution of a unified vision. And just as a detective may follow the clues leading to his suspect, those of us who watch these films have a bit of a mystery to solve every time we enter the theater. A director leaves us clues as to the message he or she may be sending, and we must decipher what that is. This brings me to a film that I've watched repeatedly over the past few months since its release. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. By the way, I actually reviewed the movie for Spurline Reviews. You can check that out in the link below, and there will be spoilers ahead. Consider yourself warned. This was a movie that I was superficially interested in, given that it takes place in Gotham City, and where there's a Gotham, there's a Bat. Plus, I was already a DCEU devotee, so I knew I would go and see this upon release. When I did, a few things did stick with me, I admit, but largely, it failed to land. Nothing about it really blew my mind, and I failed to grasp any larger narrative that was worth telling. Of course, I was blown away by the cast's performances, particularly those of Margot Robbie, Journey Smollett-Bell, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Chris Messina. The atmosphere that the film gave to the city of Gotham was legendary, honoring its comic book roots while retaining a grounded sense of modernity. Then, there was Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask. Played by Ewan McGregor in a brutal, villainous turn, Mask was the character I was looking forward to the most. Not because of any particular fandom I possessed for the crime lord, but rather that which I had for McGregor himself. I consider him my favorite actor thanks to his appearance in some of my favorite movies. Big Fish, the Star Wars prequels, I Love You Philip Morris, among others. Needless to say, I was amped to see Obi-Wan take a turn towards the dark side. But when I left the theater, here I was expecting a villain turn for the ages, one that rivaled that of Ledger's Joker. And what I got was an emotionally unstable, pampered, narcissistic, insecure club owner who desperately wanted to be taken seriously. I didn't know what to make of it. Why, of all the villains or otherwise shady characters lurking around Gotham City, did the filmmakers decide to focus on Black Mask? He was more or less a one-note villain for most of his time in Batman's Rogues Gallery.
You don't need to do this. You get money, drugs, guns, weapons, whatever you want. Please, I'll take a plane, leave Gotham, never show my face again. Any way you want.
Despite all of this, Mask was chosen as Harley's villain in this film. As all art is purposeful, I knew there was something deeper to this. So once it was released on digital, I nabbed it and immediately began a series of viewings that gifted me with one of the most volcanic epiphanies I had ever had. I began to think less about Mask and more about the film's main attraction, Harley. After all, this wasn't the fantabulous emancipation of one Roman Sionis. As the protagonist of the movie, Harley, in terms of storytelling structure, demanded an antagonist, an opposite, a foil, or plainly put, a character that serves to reflect or represent another character's flaws in their archetypal journey. Usually this takes on the form of a hero versus a villain. Famous examples could be Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy, Jesus and Satan, Rick Grimes and Negan, Walter White and Gus Fring, and a little closer to home, Batman and the Joker. With each of these pairings, a few questions are generally asked. How are these characters similar? How are they different? In comparing the two, whatever pairing they may be, a lot is revealed about the emotional journey the characters are meant to go on. Oftentimes, the villain will force the hero to confront their conflicted emotions, darkest fears, or past actions. In Harley Quinn, we may not have a pure of heart Superman-style hero, but more of an anti-hero. Basically a character that does bad stuff, but displays a few redeeming qualities. Examples would include Wolverine, Punisher, and basically any Western protagonist. She falls on the hero side of the spectrum in this film, as she's clearly the character the audience is meant to root for. So who does that make her villain? As films are subjective, I'm certain there are plenty of adequate answers that could be provided for this question. However, I'm going to be focusing on Harley's most immediate mortal threats in the film, namely the aforementioned Black Mask and Victor Zsasz, his partner. Anyone who has seen the film knows that the pair of Sionis and Zsasz are not to be trifled with, nor are they to be liked or admired in any way. These guys are just awful. Sionis has a couple of obsessions, namely with himself, but also with that of faces. Not only does he have an enormous collection of masks, but also possesses a penchant for having the faces of his enemies crudely removed by Zsasz, to the latter's twisted delight. Now, if we take a moment and think about a mask, what really is its purpose? To conceal one's identity, or to protect from different sorts of hazards, sure. More often, though, a mask is paired with a costume, allowing the wearer to escape into another persona, or character. This understanding of masks is alluded to with Sionis' final transformation into his villainous persona towards the end of the film. The Black Mask morphs Sionis into a symbol, something more than a man, that is terrifying. So how does Roman Sionis relate to Harley? And in the spirit of the hero versus the villain, how does Roman Sionis force Harley Quinn to confront her conflicted emotions, darkest fears, or past actions? Given Sionis' affinity for masks, plus his apparent ability to become someone else while wearing one, I put forth that Birds of Prey is not actually about Harley versus Black Mask, but instead, it's all about Harley versus the Joker.
What?
And I said it in my Spur line review, and I'll say it here again. This Joker. Not that one. This one. Continuity aside, it's a curious idea to put forth, given his absence from the film is very noticeable otherwise. To be fair though, a certain other Gotham character was nowhere to be found either. But I digress. Black Mask, by his very design, allows for him to become more than just one man. Like I mentioned earlier, he's a symbol, a figure behind a mask that one's fears can be projected onto. And despite his physical absence, Joker is very much present in Harley's psyche. We see her solely wrestle with his legacy, so to speak, for the first half hour of the film.
What did I do to you?
Are you serious? Look at my face. Look at my face!
That wasn't me.
But after word gets out that Harley no longer has Joker's protection, That's when Sionis becomes a proxy for the Clown Prince. Now, to understand why this happens, we have to understand the relationship between the Joker and Harley Quinn. It's long been depicted as a mix between toxic and abusive, with the pendulum usually swinging towards the latter. For example, in the New 52 run of the Suicide Squad, Joker returned from a gruesome death, and one of the first things he did was torture Harley because she had become too independent. Literally, that was the reason. With this in mind, I'd like to look at 3 specific scenes from the film that illustrate not only Harley's possible experiences with the Joker, but ultimately her triumph over him. I'm going to take this opportunity to mention that 2 of the 3 scenes we'll be looking at feature cinematic depictions of abuse and assault. While certainly a tricky subject to handle gracefully, I believe this film does it expertly. However, that doesn't mean it isn't difficult to watch. This stuff happens to real people every day. So know that in putting these scenes to film, artists are using their experiences and their stories to enlighten and empower us to empathize with those who need us to understand. In this scene, we find Harley at the mercy of Black Mask, his henchman Zaz, and his goons. In essence, Harley offers to help Mask find the diamond he's after, but she gets under his skin and... take a look.
If you let me go, just for now, I'll get you that rock back. What have you got to lose? If you boys find it first, swear to God you can kill me later. Pinky swear. Cross my heart, hope to find
Oh, you're so tiresome.
If you want my mercy, shut that hole in the middle of your face and listen. You're gonna get me my diamond, my diamond, my diamond.
A kiss on the hand, maybe quite continental. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. A kiss may be grand, but it won't pay the rental on your humble flat, or help you at the automat.
I'll give you till midnight. And then I'm gonna peel off that pretty face and pickle it. Okay?
So you might be wondering what's happening here. Mask's strike across her face sent Harley into some sort of vision. I'd argue this is actually a hint at how Harley deals with the abuse she suffers. We have not only Mask showing up, but Zaz even has a little cameo. In between their parts in the vision, we see glimpses of the real world, with Zaz seemingly handling Harley's face. Then at the end, Mask's slap in the vision corresponds with another strike from him in the real world, breaking Harley out of her mental escape. Focusing on a fantasy in her mind allowed her to marginally remove herself from the assault she was suffering at the hands of her interrogators. It may even hint how Harley progressively fell in love with Joker throughout the course of their relationship. If she consistently substituted these celebratory-like dance numbers for all the times Mr. J abandoned, punished, and/or tortured her, I can imagine her frolicking with Joker instead of Sionis and Zaz. Consistent mental substitutions like this possibly led to Harley developing a Stockholm Syndrome-like fascination. The next scene I want to look at is, in my opinion, the most disturbing one in the entire film. But it is vital in hypothesizing how Harley's relationship with the Joker might have been. I'm not going to show the entire scene, but those who have seen the film may understand why. Basically, it just gets too dark, and I don't think it's necessary to prove my point. Nevertheless, it's an important scene that definitely needed to be in the movie. Here, Harley has escaped with Cassandra Cain, who has the diamond that Mask is after. Zsasz gives Mask the bad news, and this happens.
Fuck!
What is she laughing at? Is she laughing at me?
She is.
She's nervous.
What are you laughing at, Erica?
Reuben, you gotta hear this. It's
Get on the table.
Oh, you're being a total kook.
Get on the fucking table. This is my club. Get up now.
Okay.
Now.
Whoa.
Now, dance. Dance.
Dance, Erica!
Hey!
This dress is fucking hideous. Take it off.
A couple of things here. First and foremost, Mask, for the first time in the movie, is wearing noticeable face makeup. Specifically, it looks like eyeliner, I think? Given this is the only scene in the film that he wears makeup, it seems significant given the guy he is a proxy for also was known to wear makeup. Finally, why was Mask drawn to this woman specifically? Well, she's blonde, and notice her laugh. Compare it to Harley's laugh.
What do you mean by that? Get off! Get off!
So basically, imagine this scene playing out in a different club. Say, this one.
Nah, you don't shake hands.
And instead of this guy harassing this woman, it was this guy harassing this woman. A man with significant power over her, forcing her to do things she might not have wanted to, simply for his amusement or pleasure. In this final scene, we see Harley's emotional journey come to an end. Mask has made off with Cassandra and is using the fog of Founder's Pier to lose Harley. Notice the prominence of the J tattoo in this shot, followed by the revealing of the setting's name. It's no coincidence that Harley is facing her Joker proxy villain in a place called Founder's Pier. Mr. J, if you recall, was intimately involved in Harley's founding. So already, before any dialogue has been spoken, Joker's presence is all over this scene. But Mask attempts to reason with Harley, and what he says is key.
No, we always did share a love of the dramatic. Look at us now! Don't you see? You're trying to kill me. I'm the only one who can protect you! You know you can't stand on your own, Quinn. You're not the type! But me, you need me!
Imagine instead of Mask yelling those words, it was the Joker, taunting Harley, knowing her so well that he can use her own insecurities against her. You can see the suffering on Harley's face as the words sink into her soul. The scene takes a different turn, however.
Here's the thing, roll me, baby. Your protection is based on the fact that people are scared of you. Just like they're scared of Mr. J. But I'm the one they should be scared of. Not you, not Mr. J. Because I'm Harley fucking Quinn.
That was super embarrassing.
Harley not only rejects Mask's protection and therefore Mask himself, but she renounces the Joker by name. In the end, Harley Quinn is victorious. Mask is gone, as is Joker's stranglehold on her identity. Only after leaving behind this past is she able to embrace others and find hope again. There are many ways to interpret a film. Art is made by people and therefore reflect the complexities of said people. We have many things to say, so our creative expression is bound to amplify our ideas and the stories we tell. However, by viewing Birds of Prey as Harley's unenviable struggle to escape the memory of the Joker, the film becomes a landmark in superhero cinema, putting powerful female characters, let alone imperfect anti-heroes, front and center in its deconstruction of emotional and physical abuse. The film transcends the trappings of DC fandom and confronts issues that demand our attention in the real world. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. That equates to more than 10 million people per year. A staggering 1 in 4 women have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Birds of Prey is superhero cinema at its best, using these extraordinary characters to further understand the inner lives of not only ourselves, but those around us. Harley overcomes not only her memories of the Joker, but the very character himself. She should be recognized and heralded as one of the greatest creations of DC Comics. Her existence gifted countless writers with a tool to comprehend themselves, and that is what storytelling is all about.